Hello everyone, how you doing? Welcome to episode 10 of the Trip VR podcast. That's right, guys. I don't know how we've done it. We've made it to episode 10. Incredible.
Jazz hands.
Jazz hands. So this episode we have with us Beardo Benjo. Welcome back again.
Hello. Well, I think I'm just here now, aren't I? I just live here.
So.
Well, I wasn't going to say it. If you're here, I'm happy about that.
My adopted parents. Thanks, guys.
3 people on the podcast confirmed, everyone. Yes, come on. And we also have another special guest here today. It's Matteo. Welcome to the podcast, Matteo.
Thank you for having me.
It's all right. Really good to have you here. Thank you very much for agreeing to come on. So for those that don't know much about your channel, give us a little rundown. What is it that you kind of focus on your channel?
Sure. So I've been doing the whole YouTube VR content creation for just about 2 years now. It took a little while to find what I like covering combined with what's fun to make, what's good for the channel, but I still enjoy making. So I do, I cover the basic news once a week, what games are coming out, basically the pulse of VR. And then later in the week, I'm usually like giving you guys a list of, some top games or covering a piece of hardware. Like recently I did the Pimax 8KX and the X40 tack suit. And then sometimes I have like these opinion pieces, like, how I feel the direction VR is going in, the state of this, something about Oculus. People tend to enjoy those. I like making them. They're fun. It can be controversial, but they're always fun.
Fantastic. So you cover a wide range of subjects on your channel.
Yeah, well, I mean, every video starts with like your one channel for everything VR related. So,
well, there you go. You live up to your tagline. Excellent. Okay, that's great. Well, welcome aboard. So coming up on this episode, we're going to be talking about the Oculus Gaming Showcase. So the first of its kind. They hadn't done it before, but this is the first year they're doing it. So we'll have a chat about that. And we're also going to have a talk about Wraith, Oblivion, Afterlife. By Fast Travel Games. So I think we've all played it. I wasn't too sure. Matteo, did you get around to playing any of it in the end?
I did play it, not as much as I wanted to. My Quest is on the fritz right now.
No.
So I recently factory reset it, killing all my progress. So, yeah.
Oh, devastating. Oh, sorry to hear that. Okay, and we'll give our thoughts on that game as well. So, Oculus announced a gaming showcase this year. This is the first time they've ever done this. So I was really interested to kind of see what they would discuss, what games that were coming up that haven't been announced. And it was quite a mixed bag. From my perspective, not a huge amount dropped on the showcase. I was expecting a lot more. What are your thoughts, guys? So I don't know if anyone wants to start. Benjo?
I'll start it gently.
Okay.
I guess we'll progress from there.
Yeah, we all want to start.
We're all chomping at the bit to jump in.
Yeah.
So, a gentle start. So, obviously, Vive announced their event for May 11th and May 12th before the Oculus Showcase. Mm-hmm. My knee-jerk reaction after seeing it, and I'm sure we'll go into exactly what happened and why we feel the way we feel. My knee-jerk reaction after seeing it was that showcase. It was reactionary on their behalf. It was, okay, Vive are making a move. We got to do something. And they threw together this showcase because it didn't, for me anyway, it didn't give me anything. I didn't learn anything from that showcase. Well, I didn't learn any release dates. I just learned this game's coming and it's coming sometime this year or it's coming in the summer. It was very vague. Resident Evil, Capcom already spilled the beans on that a week prior. And that was the big moment at Capcom's showcase. They took the thunder away completely. So seeing some more of that game, which is, undoubtedly the jewel in Oculus's crown right now, was great. I'm not mad about it, but it wasn't as amazing as it was the week before. And even that moment, and I'm sure we'll diverge off, is a controversial one because of the exclusivity. And I'm not just talking Oculus exclusivity, but specifically Quest 2 exclusivity. So that isn't going to be on Quest 1, and people have only had that headset for not that long. It felt reactionary to me. It felt like Oculus saw what Vive was setting up and went, okay, we need to do something. We need to get something out there before Vive to keep the conversation in our court and keep people excited about what we... Because they're not announcing a headset this year, let's be honest. I don't think that's happening. And I think they're worried at the fact that Vive are going to come in and start chewing away at that market. And I think this showcase was a cobbled together attempt to keep people focusing on Oculus.
Yeah, it was like in a nutshell, it was like, hey everybody, here are all these games you already knew were coming, and they're coming sometime. That was it.
I think you literally just described the whole showcase there in one sentence.
Showcase.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I was excited. I did like to see the new footage of After the Fall.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other game that really excited, and the new stuff about Saints and Sinner was cool. But other than that, like pinball,
Games that have already been announced.
Yeah.
The 1080 snowboarding thing, again, it's cool. But they opened that showcase with, I can't remember the exact wording, I'm paraphrasing, but they said something about there's more surprises as well. There's more surprises in store, and that kind of got me like, oh, okay. And I think the actual phrase was, she said something like, it might set off your nostalgia. My head went crazy when she said that. I was like, oh, it's going to be like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4, but in VR, like something really impactful. And then it was the dude who made 1080 snowboard.
Yeah, I know. They didn't give us anything new except for a snowboarding game. I guess that was your nostalgia, because that was, based off an N64 game. Great. No nostalgia for me. I'm not,
Yeah,
but
I hadn't played that anyway. I hadn't played that, so I've got no nostalgia for that game whatsoever. And when they talked about nostalgia, I thought they were just referring to Resident Evil 4 that we already knew about. So I wasn't expecting anything new. But sorry, Matteo, carry on.
No, I mean, I was just going to say, like, I even thought they would, just tease some of their projects that are further out. Because Oculus Studios has, they know people are noticing that Quest titles are shallow right now. It's something that VR went through a few years ago for PC VR. Everyone was chomping at the bits for new games. Then we got a bunch of shallow games. Then we finally started to get some serious games. And now development shifted to Quest. And Quest is in that state where, most of the games are shallow right now. Wave shooters, whatever. So they know people are looking for that. They've made a statement. Yeah, we have games coming, 3, 5, 7 years out that are, blow your mind. That's great. And I thought they'd give us a glimpse of that. Be like, we've mentioned Splinter Cell. We've mentioned Assassin's Creed. Give us some concept art. Give us something.
That would have been so good.
Some people lose their mind just at, like, the premise. Well, Quest is going to have Assassin's Creed. It's the best. 7 years from now. But, but that's what I was expecting. That, that little tease to make it more exciting.
I know. Splinter Cell VR, if they teased that in any shape or form, that would have really made headlines, I think, across the gaming industry.
We saw it at the, unrelated to VR, but we saw it at Sony's conference. They announced the title for God of War, and people on the internet lost their absolute minds. People over a splash screen. No footage, no screenshots, no concept.
Same thing for the new Bethesda
Starfield?
It's there, yes.
And
Can't
Elder
wait
Scrolls.
for that one.
They showed a panning shot of Elder Scrolls across kind of just a bit of land. It could have been anywhere.
Did they?
People
I missed that.
crazy.
Well, yeah,
have they done that?
A few years
that
back.
was a couple
was
years
it?
ago.
Oh.
Yeah, but
Okay.
but people do whole big introspective videos on every little thing in that video. Like, oh well, we think this might be a Redfall or whatever.
Dude, it's a tree. You're looking at a bunch of trees, man.
Yeah.
I get it. And like that, even though like I'm not for that type of marketing, I rather, it doesn't help when you tell people like just the absolute truth, or, you got to put some hype behind it, or it's bland. So I understand you have to, but I'm not all for that. I rather just tell it as it is. But yeah, that was like huge potential right there that they missed on.
Yeah. Something from Splinter Cell and what was the other one? Assassin's Creed. Yeah. But I wasn't expecting to see video or anything like that, because I mean, somebody had said, "Oh, I hope we're going to see something." And I was like, "Man, if they are planning to pump those games out this year, they're going to suck." You know, it's going to be like little short, like, "Oh, I jumped off a building into a hay bale." Assassin's Creed.
It probably would be.
The way they expressed the second part of Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge, like they gave us one image that was zooming in or out slowly, and they're like, "This is the new character." I mean, that's a title they should be giving us a lot more on. That's the type of stuff I expected for, Splinter Cell or Assassin's Creed. One little concept art, and they talk over it for 60 seconds. That's what I expected, and that would have, made people go crazy.
Was the Galaxy's Edge such a big hit that they thought people would get excited about part 2.
It wasn't that good of a game.
It's controversial in itself because it's clearly been cut into 2 parts. It should have been sold as one complete package, but it's been sold.
It might be more. Who knows?
Or 3 or 4, yeah. But then Jurassic Park was the same way. It didn't feel like a complete product.
But you know why?
Well, they needed releases for Christmas, surely.
Yeah. The box art for the Oculus Quest had 5 games that didn't exist yet. The Quest 2. It had 5 games that didn't exist yet, and one game was Beat Saber from 2017.
Climb 2, Jurassic
World. There's Horizons.
Tales.
Horizons.
Yeah.
Oh, Horizons, of course.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Horizons.
Yeah, like where was that?
Yeah, so did Facebook.
Where is that?
I mean, if there's a part right now, the ecosystem of Oculus that's severely lacking, it's a social functionality. Like where is that? Where is Horizon?
Yeah.
They've been teasing it for so long, and people have even got access to it.
I had an invite to it one day, and I accepted it, and then I went back the couple days later to try it out, and it was gone. So apparently, when you get those invites, you better get in right now because it's limited.
It's limited to a day, or something like that.
I think again, kind of moving away from the conference a little bit, but I think that's something that VR is lacking in general. Is that why do I have a home space on my Quest that I can't invite somebody to? Why do I just sit in this home space? I don't care about the surrounding unless I can bring people there. We can look at content on a screen together. We can interact. We can talk, chill out, and then we can launch straight into a game we want to play. That's where VR needs to be. That's where we need to be aiming towards. That's where we need to be growing to, because it's an inherently social way to game. It's far more social than playing flat screen. I mean, we experienced that the other day with GTFO. That game was great, but would we have had as much fun playing it flat screen when we can't do all the silly little interactions and play around in that way? No, of course it wouldn't. It would have been fun, but not as fun.
I mean, there is the other side to this, though. The other side to this, right, is Oculus is doing everything right now, right? They're building an industry almost single-handedly right now. They're developing the hardware for it, all the software. They're getting all the developers on board. They've got all this going on, so it's quite easy to kind of like focus on one specific part of what they're doing. And kind of go, where is it? Because they're moving so many pieces at once that some of them are just slipping through the net. And social doesn't appear to be a focus right now for them. But it is needed. It is needed, and it's got to come soon, surely.
Well, their target is mainstream appeal right now. How are they going to get? How are they going to sell these units? That's their goal right now.
They're reaching though, because like some of those things that they did in this game showcase that. Like with the pinball game, they were like, and this very original concept of item collection. and I was like, what? And then like the Star Trek Galaxy's Edge thing is like, and we're bringing back a character you all love. And they show that guy that I think I saw drink in the bar in the very first movie of Star Wars. Like, who the hell is that? I don't know.
I didn't recognize him.
I think his name is Hammerhead. I think we looked it up, and his name is Hammerhead, but I don't know that he ever did anything in any of the movies except be background color.
What you just said, Bug, about kind of Oculus doing everything is true, but at the same time, do they warrant sympathy for that? I don't think they warrant any sympathy for that. I don't think we should go easy on them because of it, because they're creating a exclusivity market, because they want to keep people in their ecosystem. So yes, they're doing everything on their own right now, but that's because they want people to only live within the Oculus ecosystem. They could be more inclusive to the entire VR market and make sure that these products are playable on Vive and that they're playable on Valve and they're playable everywhere else, but they don't want to. They want to keep it within their own. It's ours. We want to corner the market while we can before everyone else starts playing.
Yeah, a lot of predatory practices as well, the way they're buying up titles, so getting rid of them.
I suppose what you're saying is, if you're going to build a walled garden, make sure you make it as comfortable for everyone as possible, and make sure you've got all the basic functionality in place for people to have a good time in there. And social is part of that.
They're their own worst enemy because they want to create. They want to create exactly that. So they need to give everyone that, because if you're expecting people to live and breathe within Oculus and only Oculus's ecosystem, then of course you need to give everyone the features.
Yeah. Well, it's more like that walled garden. They're going to do whatever they can to entice you in. And then when they're in, they hope they locked you in. They hope they close the gates. Yeah. That's what they're doing. Because on the outside...
California.
Oh, Greg. Brilliant. Okay then. Well, changing gears a bit then. Was there anything about the showcase that people found genuinely exciting? I'll start. Lone Echo 2 is definitely happening this year. That was the biggest thumbs up for me that I got from the showcase. Anyone else?
Yeah.
That's not going to be on Quest, right? I think it's just Rift S. So that was exciting, actually.
I think that's a topic we should jump into because one, I'm very happy to hear Lone Echo is back on the radar, even though it should have been out last year. Ready at Dawn said it was coming out last year. Then Oculus, Facebook bought them and they went radio silence, so we don't know what happened there. We can speculate, okay, they wanted to bring it to Quest because, like I said earlier, Quest doesn't have these full-fledged titles. But if that was the case, which everyone thought, oh no, they bought the studio to make sure this game gets on the Quest. Well, where is it? Did they fail to port it? Was it not portable? I mean, that game, if you play, I just replayed the original, and it looks fantastic.
So good.
Still, 4 years later, it looks fantastic. Did they fail to port it? Did something not work right? Whatever the case may be. If they could have, they would have had it on Quest 2, for sure.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And I was even scared they would go Quest 2 exclusive. Forget PC VR.
Yeah,
so
I was excited that it was on PC VR. I was like, oh my God.
This was good news for me. This was, but that wasn't like I'm excited. That was a breath of fresh air or relief rather. I was like, oh, good.
Okay.
You didn't take it away from me.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think that game belongs on PC VR. It is pushing the boundaries of what VR games can look like. The original did anyway, and it looks like the sequel's going to step up and go above and beyond what the first one did. But is it the last hurrah? Is it Oculus's last push for PC VR?
I hope
because there's nothing else in that.
Oh my God, I really hope not.
In terms of their exclusivity, because there was nothing else in that showcase that spoke to me about PC VR. But I think right now we're in a really weird position. We're kind of on a cliff's edge, and it depends what happens in the next few weeks. It depends what comes out of Vive's showcase. It depends what Vive show off. That there's going to be reactionary stuff in Oculus's camp to fight back against that. Yeah. So if they come forward with, there's going to be a standalone headset. I think that's almost certain right now at this point. But if there's a refocus on PC VR appliances and headsets at their showcase as well, then how will that feed into Oculus? Will they just ignore it and focus on the mainstream market and the standalone market? I don't know, but it's strange. It's strange and it isn't that something like Resident Evil 4, which is going to be huge, isn't at least available on the Oculus PC VR ecosystem.
I agree.
At a higher resolution.
Yeah, that's nuts.
I mean, that's because they don't want it there. They want everyone buying a Quest. End of story. Yeah. I mean, I think. Sure, maybe we'll get studios that produce, PC VR games, even, ones owned by Facebook, but it's going to be more like cross-play, cross-buy. It's not going to be PC VR centric. Everyone's going to start with the lowest common denominator. It's going to be like, all right, this game has to work on Quest 2, for sure, no matter what. And that's your limit. And I mean, I can even go tinfoil hat here for a second, but I think they were even happy that Medal of Honor kind of tanked because it kind of pushes more people away from PC VR. See, PC VR is junk. This game didn't run right. You need a $10,000 machine to play it.
And a supercomputer hard drive.
You need a supercomputer. Yeah, you need all this space. You need all that. More reasons not to do PC VR.
Yeah.
And I mean, from a money standpoint, you could be like, that's crazy. Why would they ever want a game to tank? They've invested billions into VR right now. Yeah. So to spend a couple, tens of millions to push more people towards Quest, they'd be fine with that. They would look at that as
just it's just the cost of business for them. I mean, I think was it Medal of Honor was like $40 million. I think is what it cost to put that game together.
At the end of the day, it won an Oscar. They won an Oscar off the back of it.
Yeah.
It did.
So that's kind of cool.
That is cool, but Oscars don't cover the cost.
The Oscar was for the built-in documentary, not for the game.
Yeah.
It's just weird to think that would that fall under? I think Oculus now technically own an Oscar, or they have an Oscar, which is very strange.
That is weird.
Very strange place to be.
Yeah.
I hate to see them go away from PC VR because I think of all the Oculus, exclusive PC VR games of the past. And like I just streamed Wilson's Heart, which might not be the most amazing like game functionally as far as VR goes, but it's so gorgeous. It's just such an amazing experience to, you know, or oh God, well, like Lone Echo was another one. Just all these games that they did were so beautiful back then when PC VR was first coming out, and it feels like we're moving backwards, and it's sad.
I don't think we're moving backwards. I think exactly what it is we've jumped backwards to then move forwards. I think the Quest 2 is a cultural reset for VR.
Yeah, that's kind of a good way to look at it.
VR started too expensive for mainstream. So VR started as a hobbyist hobby. You know, if you wanted to get into VR at the start, you needed to have a job and have money and be able to support yourself and buy yourself a nice PC. Now they've kind of realized that to grow VR beyond that, they need to dial it back, bring in the kids, bring in little Timmy, bring in little Sally, get them a headset, get them hooked, and then when they're old enough to buy their own headset, they will. So I think right now we've jumped backwards, yes. You know, the focus is on the Quest, the focus is on that, build that ecosystem, basically turn it into a console cycle, PlayStation versus Xbox. We're going to have all these things that stand alone, they don't need the PC. But then we should start moving forward again. So we've had to come back to move forward. You know, we've come back to Quest, and we're just going to keep ramping up until the tech catches up or gets us close to PCVR. And then there'll be so many more people in the ecosystem, 5 years, 10 years.
I have a video on this exact topic, which, you know, obviously people who are invested in the Quest ecosystem were pissed about. But this exact topic, this is new growing pains for VR. If you were here for the last 5 years playing PC VR, you've went through these steps. I've mentioned this earlier in this video already. You finally started getting some good games. Now development has shifted to Quest. Rightfully so, because developers need to make some money.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, there's going to be like 10 million Quest headsets, you know, in the wild by the end of this year. That's one of the estimated numbers.
It's crazy.
So,
that's great.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
So, but now development has shifted and people need to retool. The developers need to see how far they can push the hardware. They're kind of starting from scratch, not necessarily, but they're kind of starting over. They're also on weaker hardware. So yes, development kind of starts over, and the Quest people are experiencing what we got in 2018 as PC VR gamers. But it, like, for us as PC VR gamers, it stinks in the short run. In the long run, it's going to be great, you know, because there'll be so many more people in game. Multiplayer games will actually survive and not just die because of no player base. With more people, you know, if you have tens of millions of headsets, developers can spend more money to make bigger games because they could expect their profit. But right now, we're stuck in this like rut of growing pains, and it's going to be like 2 years before we start seeing bigger end titles. And I'm also very skeptical on how far you can push the Quest 2.
It will need to be overhauled sooner rather than later. I think we're already starting to see it maxing out. I mean, Resident Evil 4 is cool, but that game came out
16 years ago.
16 years now.
Yeah,
I was a young boy skipping to the shop to buy my copy on GameCube. Like, I had a full head of hair, so it was definitely a long time ago. Like, so.
Still had the beard though.
For one single strand, maybe.
I was a full-grown man 16 years ago. So.
I was but a boy. So it's great to see that, and people are really celebrating that, and they should be celebrating that because it is great, and it's cool that we're getting that, and it's a proper VR port, and they're putting effort in. It's Unreal 4, yada yada yada. But the game still looks like a game that's 16 years old. You know, we're not pushing any limits, and we've touched upon Jurassic Park a couple of times. You know, I genuinely think that had potential. And I do think there's fun to be had in that game. But I think for a lot of people, probably the people that have been around with PCVR, you put that on and it just felt so... Yeah. Why would you play that over Alien Isolation with the VR mod? You know?
Exactly. When I streamed it, that's what I was thinking the whole time. I was playing it, I was like, all the mechanics of this game were taken from Alien Isolation, but all the new VR users that have just bought Quest for the first time, they haven't experienced Alien Isolation, so their mind gets blown by this mechanic of hiding under desks, hiding in lockers, you know, and just the stealth mechanics. It'll be completely fresh and new to them, and so they get that wow moment that, again, as Matteo said, like we had back in 2017. So yeah.
But it's fine because they're the generation who are used to buying a new phone every 2 years. So yeah, of course they'll buy a new Quest every 2 years.
Yeah.
When Quest 3 comes out, they'll just bug their parents. You know, I need the new one now because the games are better.
One thing that I'm thinking about while we're talking about all this and about maybe Oculus moving away from PC VR is, if that's the case, why are they so focused on improving Quest Link? They've just released Oculus Air Link as well, and they've improved that, the latency on that as well. So they are still focused. I mean, if all you really genuinely care about is the Quest and those games, why would you even have that functionality? Because if they kind of like, they dominate the market so much that if they just wanted to cut ties with PC VR at this point, they could do that. They could just do it.
I don't think they want to. I think they still want to get that crowd that wants to play PC VR games, and that's a big selling point for the Quest 2 for them. It's like, but you can do both, you know? And
ultimately, there's hundreds of games right here on Steam and Oculus. If you can print on your box, like out of the box, you can now connect to a PC wirelessly. You're going to shift more units.
But when it comes to game development, they're focused on the Quest, and they're just letting the PC VR side die. So if anything good comes out on PC VR, outside of Oculus Studios, it's still a selling point that you can play those games on the Quest. So I see from that perspective, I can kind of see why they focus on it, I guess.
Right now, it's like 1 in 5 people who buy a Quest use it for PC VR. So 4 out of 5 use it completely standalone. It's hard to get exact numbers on this because Facebook doesn't give out their numbers, but it's around that, around 20%. But at the same time,
still high.
Yeah, no, it's still fairly high. I mean, it's the most popular PC VR headset on Steam right now, so that's saying something. But at the same time, when you can't insult your original player base too much. Remember, everyone who started was a PC VR person, and they're not making PC VR headsets anymore. So they need to support this because some people who started in PC VR only want to stay in PC VR, have no interest in standalone titles. So they need to support it. But at the same time, it's also, well, look what we can do. Look what we have. We're the best. We're the best. We're the best.
I think they're just aware of that. It's going to be probably industry standard, isn't it? That these headsets can connect to a PC wirelessly.
Yeah.
I'll just read out the games that were announced. Okay, so these were the games that were announced. So we had Pistol Whip, new DLC called Smoke and Thunder, Resident Evil 4 VR, Warhammer 4000 Battle Sister got a co-op mode. Lone Echo 2 was confirmed for summer 2021. Star Wars Galaxy's Edge Part 2. After the Fall. Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, but the DLC, I didn't write down the name of it. Aftershock, thank you very much. Wraith the Oblivion Afterlife, that we've all played recently. I Expect You to Die 2. It's another one by Shell Games. And we've mentioned Carve Snowboarding. And also there was a DLC for The Climb 2 called The Freestyle Expansion. Which
Rhythm climbing.
The worst bit of Climb 2, which is that horrible tutorial area. Like, that game's selling point is that the vistas look really nice and that you get to climb up the side of buildings and mountains. But the area that the DLC's set within is that horrible white abyss where it's just kind of plain white walls with
Really? I thought it was like the whole game. It was just like a particular game mode that applies to all levels.
The weird kind of the bit that looks like you're at the gym actually on a climbing wall.
Yeah.
It's that bit, not the nice bit.
I enjoyed the Climb. I loved the original Climb, but I loved it on PC VR because those vistas look really, really crisp, really nice. Yeah, they look so good. So when I heard about Climb 2 was announced for the Quest, to be honest, I had no real interest. I don't want to see this amazing kind of perfect vision that I have of the Climb destroyed by the flat graphics on the Quest 2.
Exactly. I've heard the backgrounds are like basically just 2D images. Animated a little bit in that game.
You can like they really break the immersion. For someone who's new to VR, like we were talking about the new Questers, it will probably sell it for them. But I get in there and I look at the background and I'm like, oh, it's like someone holding a sheet of paper at 20 feet away. That's what it looks like. You can see the low texture quality, and it really breaks it. You never feel like you're high up.
Yeah.
You just that's the killer. But the PC VR version, totally different story.
Yeah. I mean, I suffer a little bit from vertigo, and it did trigger it. The original climb, I definitely had those moments, especially like jumping onto like the cable car and stuff like that. I just felt it a little bit inside, and that's good, because it means you're immersed. It means you're fully in that world, and it's tricking your brain to thinking that everything that's going on is real. So yeah, really, really good. I enjoyed the climb.
That list though that you just read out, it just reaffirms what we've been saying. There's nothing there we didn't know about. Then it might be a new mode in The Walking Dead, but we've played The Walking Dead. It might be a new mode in The Climb, but we've played The Climb. It's almost as if they sent an email out to all these studios that they know are working on stuff and said, can you just chuck us up, tell us what you're working about, because we've got to do the showcase because Vive are doing something in 2 weeks' time. We just want to show that it didn't. If that's your biggest attempt to kind of really wow people, then Capcom for one shouldn't have had the reveal of the Resident Evil thing. That should have been that should have been their big wow moment. Yeah, because that would have made that. I think our thoughts on the showcase would have been a lot more whoa if that came out of that, but it didn't. We'd already processed that information. We I think we'll see more showcases this year. I don't think it will be their last. I think there will be more. I have a feeling that they'll kind of probably adopt that kind of approach because they're very much going after that same kind of market that already exists on Nintendo Switch and on Xbox, and they expect those kind of updates from the company. They expect those kind of presentations of these are the games we've got coming and this is what we're working on. So I think we'll see more. Hopefully they'll learn from this one. The release date thing really irked me because if you're going to show things that I already know it's coming, at least show it and confirm when it's coming.
Yeah.
Because just showing a trailer to show me something I've already seen, but not telling me when it's happening is frustrating to me. How many more times can I be shown a trailer before you actually tell me when I can play the thing?
Yeah.
I think we'll see more, and I think we'll see more exclusives. I think Oculus are going to go big on exclusives.
Okay,
I don't think we should see those.
If they're copying how everyone else in the industry behaves, wouldn't it be a yearly showcase though? Because most of them just do yearlies, don't they?
Well, Sony does State of Play how often a year?
They've moved away from it. So E3 used to be my favorite time of the year. I'd book the time off work and I'd just sit on the sofa and I'd watch all these gaming presentations because I just loved seeing the new trailers and finding out what's happening. Yeah. But everyone's slowly breaking away. So I think this year's E3, Sony aren't participating. A lot of the big players aren't participating in E3 anymore. I think it's pretty much Microsoft, EA, Nintendo are back this year. But a lot of them are going for these kind of like directs, these quick little snaps. 20 minutes, 30 minutes of your time. We'll show you where we're at with these new games, these new projects. And you might get 2 or 3 a year. I think if Oculus did that, it would appeal to that mainstream market of kids who are used to that from everything else they play. They want updates. These people that are coming into VR now, these new questers, have short attention spans.
Hell yeah.
You've got to keep them interested. You've got to show them a new trailer every couple of weeks. Otherwise, they lose interest. They put the quest down. They start playing something else. So you have to just keep them engaged.
Yeah, it's highly competitive in the gaming industry. I mean, if you're not on your Quest, then you pick up your Switch, don't you? Yeah. Or you pick up your PS5 controller or whatever, and VR still got that kind of novelty factor at the moment. So that's probably to Oculus's advantage is that people still have that wow moment. So if something good comes out on the Quest versus the Switch, they're probably more likely to switch up to pick up the Quest at the moment, I would say.
At the moment. But they've got to keep that going. They've got to keep that momentum going.
Yeah. There's actually a big issue with stickiness for the Quest. Like how often people use it. Like people who have an Xbox or whatever tend to turn it on every single day. Like if you find the game you like, you tend to play it every day. That's how gamers are. But VR owners, that's not the case. It's very hard. And right now, what's holding people in the most is these fitness apps. Mm-hmm. And some of these games like Rec Room and VR Chat. So you're gonna see a push towards fitness apps and subscription services from Facebook. I hate to say it, but that's they see that's a great demographic to target. So you're gonna see that happen. And they actually just started a subscription service recently, different tiers for subscription. So
I've had about 30 emails about that.
Have you?
Just keep emailing me about it. Do you want to buy this Rec Room
anyone going to subscribe to anything? I think at the moment it's quite limited because it is purely fitness apps, isn't it? Like Supernatural.
Yeah, no.
Nothing grabs my attention now.
No.
I mean,
there's Rec Room in there too. If you want to be.
Rec Room's in there. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a Rec Room player, I'm afraid.
I just want to pay for it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
We're spoiled. We're used to playing it for free, and it's fine for free, so I'm not going to start paying that.
But if you're asking me to pay for it, no.
It's crazy.
Step away from the Rec Room.
I mean, I was around when that concept materialized, like paid DLC. And I remember as a PC gamer being like, why would I ever pay for like an in-game unicorn or like a rainbow gun? I'm like, none of this stuff makes sense to me. Why would I ever pay? And I'm like, how much? $1 for colors? Like it never made sense to me. But this generation has grown up in that. And it's like, well, if you're not sporting your neon camouflage, which makes no sense, if you're not sporting that, you're not a tough, cool, real gamer.
It's true, and I think it's Fortnite that's done that, isn't it? It's the Fortnite generation.
You're triggering me right now. I've lived through this as well, and it's actually triggering me. Like
I don't know though. The Pop One, man, I do see skins. And I'm like, oh, I really like that skin. King.
Yeah,
that's how they get you. The system works because it works, man. That's why it's good. But when I worked at a game store for 12 years, and when I started, none of that existed. When I played games when I was a kid, you had to play it to unlock something. Like if I want that cool character, I just keep playing the game. If it's Mortal Kombat, I know I need to beat the game a certain amount of times and I'll unlock some cool new character to beat people up with.
Yeah.
Fantastic. But I saw the change, and I remember the first one was Elder Scrolls, Oblivion, and they sold armor for your horse. And I remember it was the first thing that I'd ever seen that was a paid item that you could actually purchase and put in your game. And everyone was kind of wary of it. And there was a little section that was kind of up in arms, and then it kind of disappeared. But now to see how it's integral to almost every game, that pains me. It actually pains me.
I remember when this happened with Call of Duty, because Call of Duty, people don't know, was originally a PC exclusive. Okay. It's been so long, and I used to play it originally, and I loved it. And then it Call of Duty 2, and then went to consoles. And I remember they're like, oh, the consoles, they're releasing 4 new maps. It's only $5 or whatever it was. And I'm like, they're free on PC. And I'm like, not only that, I can go download 100 other like community made maps. And I'm like, what do you mean you're paying for maps? And I'm like, that would never fly with the PC VR market. And just it happens so much in the console market that it just, the overflow is there now, and people accept it in the PC market too.
Yeah. I mean, it's
making a huge amount of it in VR, but it is happening in VR, isn't
it?
Well,
they know that it works. Already. It's a proven thing. So Oculus are just copying that model straight away, and games like Pop One are just the norm straight away.
Does it, doesn't it? Don't they sell?
Yeah, they do DLC tracks and stuff, don't they? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's here to stay. Unfortunately, games that
are making like tons of money.
Yeah. So why would they not do it?
Yeah. Exactly. Proven model, it works, makes money. Oculus are going to copy that model.
You have to vote with your wallet, and no one wants to vote with their wallet because they're not involved in the conversation, because they're not playing the game and they haven't got the coolest skin, so you get stuck. You get completely stuck. In conclusion, genuinely, I do think that the overall, you can see it here, there's a nice selection of people here from the VR community. We're all pretty disappointed in it. Whether that's on us for having high expectations of what they were going to show, or whether it's because they didn't actually plan this thing out and it was a knee-jerk reaction, or whether it was just genuinely underwhelming. Probably a mixture of all three, to be honest. I mean, I went into it with high expectations. It's the first one they've ever done. They're in a dominant place in the market, so I genuinely thought they're going to have some great stuff to show. And I'm not saying that the games that are in there are bad games. There's some great games that After the Fall has my full attention. I'm buying that day one, and I will play the hell out of it. Mm-hmm. There's some great titles in that showcase, but it boils down to the fact we've seen it all. We knew it was coming. Yeah. We still don't know when they're coming. So that the showcase served no purpose for me. It was a sizzle reel. It didn't need to be a showcase. They could have just released the bunch of each studio could have just released their own trailer on the day and had a kind of a little on the day event where everyone releases their trailer and we all get excited. It didn't need to be a showcase.
Okay. Yeah, I completely agree with you that it appeared to be reactionary. to what Vive were doing, what HTC were doing, I think. Because if it's your first showcase, you want that to explode and be all over the internet and just, you know, blow people's minds with the content that's in it. And it just didn't have that wow factor at all, which is a real shame. But yeah, for me, they need to kind of up their game if this is something that they're going to be doing regularly, I think.
I think we'll see it again.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I streamed Wraith, the Oblivion Afterlife. Is that right, or is it Wraith Oblivion the Afterlife?
Always get it
them
on
all
the
screwed
The
up.
Afterlife,
Yeah,
I think.
I think, yeah.
Oblivion Afterlife.
The Oblivion, comma,
Afterlife.
something like that.
Nice.
But,
Yes.
As I was doing that, I actually found I had developers and like the community manager or whatever from Fast Travel Games watch my stream. It was like a 4-hour stream, and they were there the whole time, which was really cool.
So cool.
So anyway, afterwards, she got a hold of me and she was like, "Hey, we loved your stream. I want to send you a T-shirt. Give me your size and your address, and I'm gonna get the like master bedroom key and everything. I'm really excited."
Hey, merch.
But anyway, I was like, "That's great. Here's my size and everything. And also, how about an interview?" And I managed to land one. She got me an interview with DK, and it's spelled kind of weird because it's Swedish. And I'm gonna try and say his name here. It's like,
Do you want to try and say his name?
It's DK. I'm just gonna go say DK.
There we go.
It's in the interview. So anyway, here he is, DK from Fast Travel Games.
Good stuff.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Trip VR developer interview. Today, we're excited that we have DK with us. Now, I'm going to totally butcher this, and he can say it better afterwards. I'm just going to say Kilgren Calendar, and you're going to see how wrong I actually am. He's a game designer with 6+ years working at. I don't know if you've been at Fast Travel Games for 6+ years.
No, I've been at Fast Travel since December 2017.
Okay, all right.
We're working with
VR for 6 years. Yeah. That's right. And yeah, you love anime, and you're an HMD hoarder, so we're practically twins. So that's cool.
I'm in good company.
Yes. And he has been focused on getting the Spectres to feel alive in the Fast Travel Games' new horror title, Wraith: The Oblivion Afterlife. So, welcome, DK. And you can tell everybody how to pronounce your name now, because
it's just Kilgren Calendar. It's Swedish. It's two.
Yes,
it's always hard.
That's right. Yeah, well, you know, us Americans just expect everybody to conform to what we have to say, so how we view things. So, anyway, tell me a little bit about how you got into game design.
How I got into game design. I was lazy, actually. Growing up, I wanted to be some sort of like industrial designer. I knew to create something, and I always liked to draw and like make up things. But games, while I was doing that, like I was always playing games, I never really considered the fact that people made games. Because that was just like no one in my vicinity that were like programming or making art for games or anything like that. So it just never came up. Started doing high school and even a year of college for industrial design. That failed miserably. And I was looking around for other things to do, and I saw that this game design education is like 20 minutes away from me. Let's try that. And that was back in 2011, and now I'm here.
That's awesome. So yeah, it's just a matter of convenience.
Yes.
Hey, but look at what a cool field you get to work in, though. That's awesome.
Yes.
All right. So what was your first VR experience?
First VR experience was the early DK ones, the Rift DK ones. I actually got, so I started Game Design University in 2011. I was there until 2014. So while the Kickstarter was happening, I got the university to actually buy 4 headsets.
Oh, nice.
So that we can experiment with them and stuff. And so yeah, I was the evangelist at the school, at the university, and like putting on headsets and as many people as I could. And I think the first was probably the I don't remember if they had the Tuscany demo back then or not from the beginning, but either that or the like roller coaster, the
Oh,
Unreal
okay.
4 roller coaster, no,
Yeah.
Unreal 3 roller coaster,
Yes.
or like the drop and everything. Yeah. So since 2014, but like I've
Okay.
been excited for VR since like I was a kid. So, but that's when
Yeah.
I started to actually experience it.
Yeah. 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 VR has just been one of those things. I remember back in, God, was it the 80s when Lawnmower Man came out? That movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, this looks cool. Because my first video game was like Pong, so this stuff is blowing my mind. um, so was this your first time working on a horror title?
No and yes. I was before I was at Fast Travel, I was at former Survive, now Antler Interactive. We made a game called Carton, Death by Cardboard. That's like a
I love that
horror.
game. Yeah.
So I was mostly doing levels and stuff on that, but yeah, that was the
Okay.
first like horror title I did. So
That's
technically
awesome.
it's the second. Yeah.
Okay. Man, I forgot about that game. That was so good. I love that studio. What is the other game? Survive?
Yeah, Survive the Helix.
Yes, I still look back so fondly on that because it was very new in VR when that came out, and wow, yeah, that was just such a
So
great.
yeah, and that was my first full time like VR game development stuff, doing Helix and Carton.
Awesome, dude. That's really cool. Well, gotta say, you've worked on some really fun games. Yeah, I remember when Carton came out, it was right at the same time as Doom VFR came out.
Yeah.
And I remember play because I made a video of your game on my channel, the Carton. I was like, look at this, look at these guys, it's a small team, look at smooth locomotion, it works great. What's with this teleport crap? So, yeah, man, I got to dig Carton back up now and play that again. That was really fun. Kind of reminded me of like Pac-Man in VR. You weren't eating things, but yeah, it's still like just is crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see where we at here. Do you find that working with other games like say Survive or Carton is kind of horror, but compared to Afterlife, do you find there's a big difference in working with other games different than horror?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, there are different aspects to it. Like you have the slow, ever rising tension and pacing. You have the like always making sure that people feel what they should feel like at any certain point, and making sure that with especially a horror title where you are so tense all the time, you need to make sure that you give those moments of relief and release the tension as well. Otherwise people just cramp up and don't want to play anymore, can't play anymore because they're too tense. You have similar things like fatigue and exhaustion in like an action title for say, but it's not quite the same, but it's not really that different as either. They're different sides of the same coin. I would say.
Yeah, especially in a VR title, the horror is so much more visceral in VR. So yeah. See, I'm a hardcore VR horror fan. So I just want you to torture me the whole damn time. and
it's always a balance trying to like have some of that, but not only that, just to not alienate the crowd. Because we're also getting people being like, hey, can we be in the game and not be in danger as well? They just want to like experience it without the actual danger, and that's a valid way to play as well, but we need to be able to cater to as much as possible.
Yeah. Well, I noticed that about this game. I felt like it was one that would be really good for people because of the pacing that aren't like maniacs like me that love that constant, just like because this one gives you that nice slow build up. It has some really great moments. Last night I played, I think, to the end, And when we're done, I want to talk to you about something because I don't want to spoil it for anybody. Yeah, I crapped myself a couple times last night. Holy cow, it gets really scary at the end.
We've tried, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we still have I still have colleagues that haven't played through the game, I think.
Oh yeah,
because they're too scared. So like we really went all the way on that.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's the way to do it, man. I love VR horror. All right. Well, speaking of horror, what would you say were some of your horror influences from the past?
Oh, like for sure, stuff like Silent Hill 2, Amnesia, Outlast to some degree. Obviously Alien Isolation was a big part for us that handled all the specters and the AI. Obviously we knew from the beginning that we wouldn't be able to like achieve that level of sophisticated AI, but we want to like recreate that feeling as much as possible in the enemies that you encounter.
Yes. Yeah. No, they definitely got that tall guy.
Yes. Robert.
Yes. Oh. Yeah, Beardo Benjo wanted me to ask you, why did you have to make him so tall and lanky and scary?
Why not?
Exactly. That would be my answer. Yeah.
No, I don't remember. I mean, our concept artist, Henrik, and he and our animators and our character modeler, they all went together and like had different sketches and different tests early on. And we had that tall guy concept, and it was like, yeah, we gotta do this. We gotta do this. It's too good to not do in VR.
Oh yeah. Yeah. When you're looking up at him and his head's all split in half. Oh, it's great. Yeah. And I've got a great clip of him when he killed me one time. He came in. It's just such a terrifying view. Yeah, it's fantastic. What would you say is probably the most difficult thing about making a VR horror title?
I would say it's probably having that balance that we talked about between tension and not being too tense all the time. You need to have those moments. You need to know when to let people relax as well, because otherwise, the next time you build tension and have the horror moment, you're not going to have as much of an impact on that horror.
Okay.
So you need that ebb and flow.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. All right. Okay. So VR Bug wanted me to ask you if you guys had played any of the other Into the Darkness titles before the studio picked up Wraith, or if you had played like the tabletop version of Wraith, the Oblivion.
You mean the World of Darkness?
Yeah, I just typed what he said because I didn't even know those things existed. Yeah.
So I personally haven't done that. I know Eric, our creative director, he's been a Wraith and tabletop fan for a long time. Even to the point that one of the early pitches for games when Fast Travel was starting was a Wraith game. But this was way before we had any sort of like communication with Paradox and stuff like that, the IP owners for the World of Darkness brand. But yeah, so doing something in World of Darkness has been something that the team has been wanting to do for a while.
Okay, cool.
We're just happy to be able to actually do one of the first, not only VR games in the World of Darkness, but first video games ever of Wraith.
Yeah, awesome. I didn't know. Does the story is it kind of taken any from the tabletop version, or is this like a whole new story?
So we definitely have like inspirations and nods to the old Wraith, the Oblivion.
Okay.
But this is a completely separate thing in the same universe, in the same world, in the Shadowlands, as it is. But the tabletop, pen and paper RPG, it has a lot more of an entire society and deeper lore-filled world that we don't really touch upon. We hint on it, so people that know will find a lot of Easter eggs. relating to those things, but we felt that we didn't really, since this is the first video game for Wraith, we really didn't want to have to. We didn't want a new player to have to know everything about the Wraith universe in order to enjoy the game. But at the same time, we don't want to alienate old players of Wraith with this game. So we wanted to strike a new balance, and we felt that making a new story based on that premise was the best way to go forward, at least for this.
Yeah. Well, it worked great because I knew nothing about Wraith, going into it, and so just going into the story, it's got some neat little twists and turns in there and everything. It's great. Let's see. So your work is to help make sure that the specters are designed with the specters, making them more lifelike.
Yes.
What exactly is it that you do with the specters?
What do I do? No, but I am the designer part of like the AI team. As it's starting to build out at Fast Travel now. So we've been me, a programmer called Benny Carlson, and primarily two animators, Christopher Björner and Flip Sapia, along with our character modeler, Jens Swanberg. We've been, throughout the project, we've all been collaborating on like, we're the team that's handling the specters and how they feel throughout the game. And I've been the part of the team that sits in the engine, making sure that things are connected, making sure that the blueprint part of the logic, stuff like that, placing the specters in the levels, making sure that it works with the level designs, stuff like that.
Okay. So you worked on all of them then? There wasn't just one specific one that was your specter?
No.
Okay.
I worked on all of them.
Okay. Which would you say for you is the scariest one, personally?
The scariest one is definitely the one in, how do I put it without spoiling it too much? It is a special version of the big baddie.
Okay.
That is only in one instance of the game.
Okay. I think I ran into that last night.
You might.
No, maybe not.
I think you ran into it in the first stream that you did.
Okay.
When it becomes really, really dark.
Yes. Stop that.
It's like logic-wise, it's very, very simple. It's one of the simplest things we have in the game, but it's so effective.
Terrifying. Yeah, I just remember I was walking along thinking, I was just kind of and all of a sudden I see this thing coming. I was like, oh my god.
Like, I'm the one who came up with the idea. I implemented the animations, took the animations from the animators and like put it in the game. I know exactly what it's going to do, when it's going to do it. I still get scared.
Oh, it's creepy. Yeah. It's so creepy.
Yeah. When you're in VR and just having that thing coming out of the shadows, it's like, no.
Yep. No. Yeah, and to hear it walking around behind you and stuff.
The Two Feathers team, the audio team that we've been working with ever since Apex, they've made a fantastic job for Wraith.
Yes.
We're blown away again and again by what the sound design and stuff they do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so how big of a team worked on Wraith then?
So today we are, I think, 32 people in total at Fast Travel Games, out of which I'm guessing we're about 25 people that have actively worked on the game throughout the development.
So that's a good sized team then.
And then plus the audio team and obviously the voice actors, stuff like that. But for like the core dev team at Fast Travel, I think we're about 25.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So have you worked on any of the other Fast Travel games?
Yes, I did very little. I came in on the end of Apex. So I mainly worked on the DLC, the Signia Cup stuff. I did not work as much on Curious because I was busy doing Budicus 2 together with Neat then. So I only joined for like a puzzle session or something like that. But I've been around for all the games. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Cool. How long did Wraith take to develop?
So about 18 months. I think.
That's not too bad then.
Yeah. So we got started around the end of 2019-ish, I think.
Wow, you guys are probably just like full time in it then, huh? Like 24/7, just 12-hour days.
No, thankfully we're one of those companies that believe in like work-life balance.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Like a lot of us, not me included, but a lot of the team have families and kids, and like they have to go to pick them up in school and stuff like that. And we're very adamant that like there's work time and there's family time. There's
I don't know what that
crunch
is.
or anything.
Yeah. Once again, we're over here in America. It's like no family time.
You should come here.
Yeah, no kidding. You know, it's tempting. I gotta tell you. All right. So I was just looking up today. I was looking on the stats at Oculus because this hasn't released on Steam yet, right? It's like the 25th of May.
Yeah.
Okay. But it looks like you're getting really good reception. I've seen a lot of really great reviews on Twitter. I think it's something like out of the reviews, I think 78% of them were 5 stars. So So have you been getting really good feedback?
Yeah. And thankfully, both from the VR community as a whole, but also which was our biggest fear, from the World of Darkness community, like the people that haven't been in VR before and just, oh my God, it's a VR game in our setting in the world that we love, and hearing their reaction and hearing them love it and hearing that, okay, this is a good interpretation of what Wraith is, but brought to the VR video game medium.
Well, that's got to feel good.
Yeah. That's been fantastic.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that shirt in the mail, by the way. I think Francesca says she's going to send me one, so I'm pretty excited about that.
And also, not to forget the key and everything.
Oh, awesome! Is that the master bedroom key?
Yes.
I thought so. Just found that yesterday. Oh man, yeah. Did you guys did you find a lot of bugs? I didn't see a whole lot of bugginess in that game.
Honestly, compared to our other releases, no.
Yeah.
we've gotten one like game blocking or progress blocking bug from one user. That's about it. Other than that, it's been like quality of life improvements and things that at the worst, like something that you need to restart the game just to clear. But I saw you encountering a few bugs of your own on the 4-hour stream.
Yeah, that was a long stream. That's what I do. I just get in and play the game, and then I'm finally like, I'm getting tired. Maybe I should stop.
but hopefully, when we get around to when we release the Steam VR version, you'll also have proper Vive 1 support.
That's right, because I was using the Vive once. Yeah. So, do you see more horror titles down the road for fast travel games?
We do have. We've already said that we have multiple projects planned and like on the way, but unfortunately, not a horror title per se in the immediate future. We as a studio, we don't really want to be a genre studio. But like, fast travel only makes that, and as you've seen on the games, we really don't stick to something.
So you got pets over here and
bows and action over there, and robots. No, and you'll see the next thing that we'll announce will be very different from what we've done so far as well.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that we will never go back to horror. Definitely not. Like, obviously, a lot of the team loves it. So,
who doesn't love horror? I mean, come on.
Exactly. But yeah, so not in an immediate future. No.
Okay. Yeah, because I just feel like Wraith is one of those types of things where you could easily have a Wraith too. I mean, there's so much you could do in that universe, I would think. So, yeah, that's just my 2 cents. But
Noted.
All right. Well, I got to tell you, that's really all I had written down for questions. So we want to thank you for joining us and answering some questions. It's some really cool info about Wraith. I want to congratulate you and the whole team on a great launch of a great title.
Thank you.
And we can't wait to see what else Fast Travel Games has for us in the future, because you guys have really been knocking out of the park with some great titles. So congratulations. Thank you very much. And we can't wait to see what else you guys have coming.
I can't wait to see you play more of our stuff in the future as well.
Oh yeah,
there's a lot more coming.
I was recording last night. I got the end of Wraith, but I didn't quite finish it. So once again, I'm going to talk to you about that for a second.
Okay.
So out this week was the latest game by Fast Travel Games, which is Wraith: The Oblivion Afterlife. Now, I've been looking forward to this one for quite some time. It's a horror game. It's not so much based on things like jump scares. It's just a very, very good, creepy style game. Now, what were your thoughts, guys? I loaded into it, and at first it felt a little bit slow to me, but it ramped up as the game went on, and by the end of it, like I was in love with the game. I really, really enjoyed it. So I don't know who wants to start with thoughts.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's very slow burn, very slow burn, and a huge emphasis on story. So if you're jumping into that game and you're a horror fan, you need to understand that you're not going to get your Five Nights at Freddy's style things popping out of cupboards and making you completely shit yourself. You're not going to get that. You have to take your time. You have to sit back and you have to listen to the story, because there's a lot of exposition there that's fed to you, drip fed to you throughout the game. I think for Wraith, the thing it's got almost going against it is you have to push through the first hour and a half, and it gets really scary.
Yeah.
The second half of that game is causing me a concern. I don't know if I'm going to make it through to the end. I just recorded yesterday another hour's worth, and I had a really bad time. Like,
and you're a horror VR veteran as well, so to hear that from you is
horror's
a big
my
deal.
thing.
I know.
It's my absolute favorite, but this really pushed my buttons.
Okay, so what is it about the game a bit later on that kind of gave you that reaction?
Horrible.
Good lady.
It's the broken lady. So I won't spoil too much, but I'm sure Greg will splice in some stuff anyway. But there's a few different creatures you come up against, and the first one is fine. Zombie, creepy zombie, and you avoid it. Cool. Second one is like a really lanky guy. Yeah. Now he messed me up. I didn't like him. He had really long limbs. Something about long limbs isn't nice. Third one is this broken lady, and it's one of the most awful encounters with a creature I've ever had in VR, because you're forced into an area that's almost pitch black, and your torch only lights up about 2 feet in front of your face. So you can shine it at the floor so you can see where your feet are, but you can't really see anything else. And if you get close enough to an object, obviously it will illuminate the object, but you've got to be close to the object. So this felt like I was literally in that room just feeling around, feeling my way. And I was walking along, and there was a table on the right-hand side of me. And I was kind of using my torch to track that, because it's the only thing that kind of anchored me to where I was. So I was like, okay, there's the table. And then I slightly looked up, and she's there, emerging from the shadows, walking towards me. But the problem is, if you take too many steps back, she disappears into the shadows, because you have to be close for the torch to illuminate her. But you don't want to be close. So you're just listening to her to try and figure out where she is. It's horrible. And that whole section is almost pitch black, and you need to maneuver your way to a specific bit while she's wandering around the section as well.
That just sounds like really good game design to me.
Oh, it's so scary.
And it comes quite late in the game, I think. I could say Greg's further than me, but...
Yeah, you still have quite a bit to go after that, and you'll have to deal with her more too. So
shut up.
Joy.
And it's worse. It gets worse.
I guess really we should give a little overview about what the game's actually about for those that aren't familiar with the title. I mean, we're all just straight away kind of launching into like what we thought of the game, but a lot of people probably heard the title and haven't got a clue what it's about. So for those that don't know, you are a wraith, so you're kind of like a kind of undead entity, I guess, and you died during a seance at a place called Barclay's Mansion, and you've got to discover why you died and uncover the mystery behind your death. That's kind of it in a nutshell, I think. But I admit I haven't got fully to the end of the game yet, so I don't know how it pans out a bit closer to the end.
I don't think any of us here have completed it yet, have we?
No, you haven't fully completed it yet, Greg? I thought you completed it yesterday.
I've got like 5 minutes left. There's one puzzle at the end that I was kind of stuck on, and DK helped me with that yesterday. So
okay, and
I just have to sit down and do it.
The other side of this as well is that as you go through the Barclays Mansion, you meet the spectres, and that's what Benjo's been talking about. So spectres they're just different types of undead again, but they've all got different abilities. And different ways that they scare you, and you know they ramp up in that kind of scare factor as the game goes on, which is what makes it unique, I think. You know, you never know what the next spectre's going to be like, and so you're already dreading the next one while you're currently dealing with the current one. You know, which is again really nice aspect of the game design, I think. So Matteo, what are your thoughts? Sorry.
So, the more I listen to you guys, the less I think I'm gonna finish this game. So I'm actually not very far in it. I mentioned very early in this recording that my Quest 2 is on the fritz. For the most part, my Quest 2 is working like fine, but there's a few games that are just lagging like crazy, and Oculus can't figure it out. You know, I factory reset the thing. You know, YOLO'd all my progression in my games. You know, just I'm so sick of this. I'm just factory resetting. Yeah, and then I'm like, oh, because I was only like an hour into Wraith, and I'm like, oh, I gotta play that slow hour again. Yeah. Which I'm sure I'd move through a lot faster now that I know what to do. But it's kind of slowed my progression, and also, you know, I only get the game like at 9 o'clock at night. It's usually my chill out time. The last thing I want to do is, you know, like put on a headset and be terrified right before I go to bed.
Yeah.
So like it's been holding me back. I'm not the biggest fan of, you know, horror. There are, you know, I love some traditional horror games. Like I liked Alan Wake. I liked Outlast. I have no interest in Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm very glad this isn't a game built on jump scares.
Yeah.
You know, so I was cool with that. I'm intrigued by the storyline, like just the whole concept that you're tied to this house and you have to, you know, unravel the storyline, and the fact that like, you know, you would stop and be like, wait, you're a Wraith. Why am I looking for a key for a door? You know, why can't I walk through the door? But the whole concept of, well, you just died and you're used to being alive, so you don't kind of like, you know the rules of being a Wraith yet, and eventually you'll walk through a door.
Yeah.
Eventually, you know, you're Wraith crawling right now.
So what were your initial impressions though, just from the hour that you played? Did you like the atmosphere? Did you think they failed?
I definitely like the atmosphere. I was intrigued with the storyline, which is, you know, that's a big pull for me. Any intriguing storyline is going to suck me in. And then like, you know, like it has that right level of suspense. You know, they can't keep you on the edge of, you know, something's going to happen. I'm so scared. You know, your butt muscles are tight as you're playing the game. You know, you can't be on that, you know, edge for too long. So they do a good job of that. Like it'll be like, okay, suspense, building, something terrifying. I get a reprieve, you know, like that's, so they have a good balance there from what I've seen. But when I hear stories about the broken lady and stuff like that, I think no,
it's scary. And I'm a horror fanatic, and you know, I'm one of the guys that's like I mentioned this DK in the interview. I want you to torture me the whole time. You know, I love that just constant, I'm just terrified the whole time. And that the end of this game. Definitely, I didn't think it would, but yeah, this last little bit that I had played, holy crap! I was sitting there like, oh my god, I don't want to continue now. That scared the shit out of me. So,
amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, they did a good job with that.
That's problematic.
Yeah, the only thing that for me in that game, the only thing that I wish I could move a little faster. I feel like I think the pacing issue that a lot of people talk about, the slowness, I think you could remedy that if we could move at least twice as fast as the walking. Because I mean, even the run, it's funny, you hear the footsteps. I'm like, I just imagine how they're running, and they're just kind of like their arms down.
Like just dawdling. Float faster.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
Yeah, I think the walking slow is intentional though, because as you approach some of the areas where these specters are, I think they build up the suspense with the music, and they can time the first scare with these specters perfectly, because they know how fast you're moving into that area. And so it's kind of like you're almost prepared for that speed. If you could just run in, you might miss a whole load of stuff. And you might not be as scared.
You could scale that with the programming. I think, because I made this comment when I was streaming, I was like, what I really feel like this is, I think developers are still afraid of motion sickness, that motion sickness curse on a game, because you hear that there's still a lot of people that have that problem. And even Francesca, one of the gals that was watching, she's like, yeah, I'm just afraid if we went faster, people would be getting sick. And so, yeah.
I want to go as fast as physically possible.
Yeah, me too. I like going fast.
Just leg it the hell out of there. Get away from those specters.
Oh my god, yeah, because when they're chasing you down and you're just barely crawling, it's like, oh god, run! I
was watching back my footage from playing yesterday, and there is a point where I'm in the game. It thinks I'm running away from this creature, but when you're watching it back, it looks like we're just both walking at the same pace, kind of in tandem with each other, slowly away. Yeah. And it's like I wouldn't act like that if there was actually this thing standing in front. I would be legging it. I would be so fast.
Yeah.
And that doesn't translate into the game.
Okay.
But it's a unique concept anyway, because you're a ghost yourself.
You don't have stamina.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I think going on kind of comments I've had on videos and comments I've read on other people's videos, I think the problem that Wraith has is selling itself to a mass horror audience, because if people see that first hour, it is very slow paced. It almost needed like a big gotcha moment within the first kind of 30 minutes, like a big kind of horror set piece at the start to hook you in, but it doesn't have it. And the first kind of scares come about 45 minutes in, when you first get to face up against a spectre. The sound design is great, and the sound design keeps you on your edge immediately.
Sounds like amazing.
You come in and you've got the creaky mansion, and you've got the kind of demonic voice that talks to you, and it sounds like it's there, but then when you look there, it's over there, and it's just
and then every now and again it'll get that really low undertone.
That's just brilliant. I think to sell a horror game these days, anyway, again, harking back to what we talked about before, to the kind of low attention span market, they want the big wow moments, and they want to be scared, and they want the jump scares. And I don't necessarily want that. I'm getting to an age where I want a more refined horror experience. I want I want to be scared over a long period of time, and I want it to build. But people do want that kind of quick gratification. I think it just needed something in the opening hour to just really hook people in. I think it struggles with pacing in the first hour, but if you push past that, you open up into a terrifying game that will, I think, satisfy even the most diehard horror fans. You just gotta get past that first hour.
There's two aspects to that. I mean, horror in general is a hard sell. A lot of people who just immediately drop interest when you have a horror title. That's why like the Dead Space franchise kind of died off. EA's like, well, we can't sell enough copies. Let's dial down the horror and make it co-op.
Such a shame.
And we'll sell more copies, and kind of killed the franchise. So horror is always a hard sell to begin with. But then when you get into VR, exactly what you said is even amplified more. Because there's nothing more frustrating than you put on your VR headset. VR is very immersive. And then to kind of just like stand there and be like, okay, and when? VR, it's not like traditional games. You have an intro cutscene, 20 minutes. You're sitting down, with your controller, maybe throwing some popcorn in, and taking it in like a movie. That's not VR. So if you're not ramping it up for people for VR right away, they're like, and when do I start playing? That's what it feels like.
Yeah, it does need that.
You nailed that, yeah. I completely agree with that, because there's so many times I've been playing a VR game where you're standing as well most of the time. So you're standing in the middle of your room and you're not doing anything. You're watching something play out in front of you, just dead still, not saying it. It feels wrong. It doesn't feel like it's connecting with the tech you're using.
Yep, it doesn't work. It doesn't work in VR.
Okay, that's really interesting, actually. I hadn't really thought about that. But, as we're discussing it, I agree. That kind of hook at the beginning kind of needed to be there. It was missing. Because I must admit, I did, a couple of times, I did kind of like take the headset off, go and get a drink, come back, put it back on and think, right, I'll give it another 10 minutes. that kind of thing, which I don't do with many games. So if it had that initial hook, maybe I wouldn't have done that. You know,
Well, I think
so
another part of this that at least I felt in that first hour is Barclay Mansion, when you walk in, isn't necessarily a scary place. You know, it's got that beautiful kind of like 50s Art Deco thing going on, you know, the warm lighting.
yeah.
So, you know, a lot of your horror games, you know, what they get you is like you're in there and you're instantly in this kind of like a horror situation. You know, look at Outlast, you know, you're in this big
Resident Evil 7.
Yeah,
Or
or
even-
Resident Evil 7 or Alien Isolation even. I mean, yeah, you're in a space station, but it's wrecked, you know. It's so and you're not really seeing that when you first start. So you're kind of going through and it's just not really a scary place to walk through. I mean, if it starts like when you run into like the dude hanging from the ceiling and stuff like that.
Oh
you know,
God,
that's
him.
creepy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
why he's calling me daddy, I don't want to know.
I know.
Like Saints and Sinners, like, you know, does have like, you know, this type of cinematic intro, but they nail it.
Mhm.
You're on a boat. You have, you know, objects of interest. So they're already sparking intrigue. So you're like, oh, what's that? Oh, that guy got killed. Oh, this place is creepy. Lightning. So, you know, they have you looking around. You feel immersed. It's not just watching a cinematic. You're immersed. And then you have that end of it where zombies, you know, start climbing up on the boat. Where you're reaching for your gun. You're freaking out. They nail it. They've nailed, you know, the way you do a VR intro, especially for a horror game.
I think it's exposition in general, isn't it? It's how VR games feed you the story. They can't rely on that old school method of just making something happen in front of your face and you just stand and watch it play out. And I think Wraith's built its storytelling around that. You know, you take a photo of a memory, then you get two kind of figures appear, and you're expected to stand there for 30 seconds to minute and a half, just watching them have this conversation. And that doesn't feel natural or right when you're in that world and you're there. It should be storytelling through environment and storytelling through things happening that draw your attention, rather than this is going to play out now. You're going to stand and watch it. I think my biggest criticism of the game is fast travel are great when it comes to VR. You know, they've got a wealth of experience, and if you played, you know, Apex Construct, any of their other games, they make very interesting worlds. I don't think the Barclay Mansion is a very interesting place, because it's when I first went in, I was like, this is great level design. But then when you've walked down all of the corridors and you've explored all the rooms, it's the same asset. It's the same assets. So every corridor has the same 3 movie posters, and every corridor has the same plinth with the same strange like statue on it. It doesn't feel like a varied environment. It feels like it's a lot of the same resources used over and over again. And I think, again, for a horror game, I think the only place, there's a couple of places that do look different. Obviously, the garden looks different because it's the garden. The cinema is cool because it's the cinema. But the joining areas, the corridors, they're all. It doesn't. I don't believe that I'm in that actual place, because who would have the same poster 50 times in that house?
So it's so funny you say that, because when I walked in the game in my footage, I literally walk into the house, and the first thing I do is see a poster there and a poster there, and I point at them. So it's in my footage. I'm going, same poster.
Did the same
Who
thing.
would do that?
Yeah,
But
he does that.
now, is that a game issue or is that a hardware issue? Because we know we have constraints. You know, memory.
Yeah, I was playing on the computer. I was playing on PC, and I don't know. I can't remember that first room you walk in. There was 3 posters on each side, and I think they were all actually different. And because I was commenting, I was like, I wonder if these are actually from the Lovecraft world at all, or these movies that they have in here. Or
I played the first part of my playthrough on Quest, and I've since transitioned to PC VR. And PC VR is certainly a better experience. Like the resolution of the characters, although they're in black and white and they're kind of noir, they've got more detailing. Like especially when you see yourself in the black and white, you've got kind of all that little bits of stubble, and there's a lot of detail, and it's really, really nice. But there's 3 posters.
Yeah,
and they are
Still the same 3
replicated.
places.
Yeah, on PC VR.
but
again,
another thing about that, you know, because somebody had asked me if I was getting like Wilson's Heart vibes. I think it was Paradise Decay while I was playing, and you know, I could see that definitely in this game, especially like the inventory system. You know, it's like right out of Wilson's Heart. But I was like, yeah, but I just feel like Fast Travel Games has done some good games, but I feel like trying to compare them to something like Wilson's Heart, who had Rosario Dawson and Peter Weller, and obviously a shit ton of money to make their game.
Yeah.
I just feel like that's an unfair comparison. I think because these guys are a small studio. I think you said they had 25 people on their team, and
Yeah.
It's exactly that. We're putting almost indie studios on a plinth because they're all we've got right now making content for VR. So we're expecting so much of a studio that is probably already running at capacity. So I can sit here all day and say, same 3 posters, but what kind of constraint and what strain does that put on those people working for Fast Travel to create more assets if they're only a team of 25 people? I think that's a really interesting point. That's like a wider VR community conversation, but certainly I think right now it's the indie developers that are holding VR up, but then our expectations are going to be higher and higher because that's the content. It's the only content we're getting.
Yeah. And we get those few games that sneak in there that kind of, throw it off, like Half-Life Alyx. Asgard's Wrath. You get a few of these titles that sneak in, and they kind of, you see the disparity.
Yeah, well, even Saints and Sinners, I think a lot of people keep using that as a good comparison because it sits within that horror genre and it's very survival horror. But that's going to have the licensing for The Walking Dead, so that ain't going to be a cheap product.
Yeah.
They're going to have tons of money to throw at that. Is it Skybound?
Skydance?
Skydance. I think
Skydance. Skydance Interactive,
somehow I think they're both in there somehow.
Yeah.
They'll have money coming out their ears again, but I guess it's for us. Again, I don't want to draw any lines between people here, but for us as people who are kind of really engaging with that as not just a hobby that we love, but in a way a career. We're making videos about this, we're talking about this, we're right here talking about it on our Saturday. Yeah, we can take a step back and have this conversation and understand that and say, yeah, okay, I understand the constraints of an indie studio, but Joe Blogg's consumer won't. They'll spend 20 quid on Wraith, however much it costs, and they'll go, why is it the same 3 posters out every corridor? Why don't I feel like the house doesn't feel like a real place? Yeah. So that's a really difficult thing to kind of overcome when you're talking mainstream adoption, because people were going to expect the place to feel like a real place, especially in VR. And it's weird that I know there was a party there at some point, but there's just alcohol everywhere.
Yeah,
I know.
Every room there's alcohol.
Yeah.
Hey, you need those bottles. They come in handy. It's kind of like the Jeff thing. It's like,
yeah, it is. And it does. You mentioned Wilson's Heart, right? For the inventory system. And I agree, it's very much Wilson's Heart. I mean, I haven't actually played Wilson's Heart, but I've watched your stream where you're playing it. And the moment you started picking things up, I was like, hang on, that's totally out of Wraith. And so it feels like there's an element of Wilson's Heart in it. And also element of Half-Life Alyx as well. And,
also an element of Alien Isolation.
Alien Isolation is the other one as well, the hiding in the lockers. So you can tell that they've kind of picked these mechanics from all these classics and have used it in the game. And there's nothing wrong with that,
No.
If there's a mechanic in a game that's worked, people want more of it. So why not? So I think it's great that they kind of looked to what's worked in other games, and they've kind of taken a few ideas from other classic titles out there.
I think so. I think overall, I really like the game. I really rate the game. I think it comes into its own in its second half. I think after the kind of the 40, you get a percentage completion meter. I think after my first hour, I was at about 24%, and then when I picked it back up yesterday, I was starting from about 54%. And at that point onwards, it's been an unrelenting, terrifying ride. It's just been insane. So the second half of that game does a far better job of selling itself than the first half of that game.
Yeah.
And
I think it's a good game for people that are new to horror in VR because it has that slow start. They're not going to just
quit in the second half.
Yeah. Well, maybe they'll bring in slowly and they'll realize that this is what they really need in their life.
It's the first time I stood in front of a door in VR, and I did not want to walk in it.
Really?
There's a few moments in my video where I'm like, I don't want to go in that room.
Wow. That's brilliant.
I might have to, stream it, because there's a weird thing that happens when I stream a horror game. That the fear just melts away because you feel like
have friends with you.
Yeah, you feel like the community's there with you. Yeah. Like they're all standing right behind you. So it's like, and if you get scared, they're just they're gonna laugh at you, and everyone wins. So So like I think I'm gonna have to power through it by streaming it one day, because this sounds, you guys are not painting a pretty picture for me.
Yeah, I was very pleased at the end, because I was a little disappointed at the beginning because of the slow burn. But as it went on, and as I've got through it, from about halfway on, it's gotten much better. And
well, I was happy that you said that it got scarier, so I was like, oh, fantastic. So I picked it up bloody yesterday. And then coming out of yesterday, when I'm standing in front of the bomb shelter door, I'm like, right, I'll leave it there. I'll pick that back up for another hour, a different week. I thought, okay, well, I've now reached the peak of terror, and you keep telling me it's going to get worse.
Amazing.
When you're at the bomb shelter, do you have the things to get into the bomb shelter?
I didn't even go down the stairs. So I got.
Okay.
I opened
So
the
you
crank,
haven't gotten there yet.
and then I saw that I was going down there, and I went, right, I'm going to save it.
Okay, yeah. So you're going to get down there. You're not going to be able to get into the door yet. There's 3 things you've got to go find to get into that door.
I know where one of them is, because I think I saw it in when I was playing it earlier. There's like something hidden behind a box on a shelf, and I was like, I can't get that. I can't move the box.
Yeah, because you haven't got the. Okay, you've got the power now. So yeah, there you go. See, I like that. You're kind of become an upgraded ghost as you go along. So that's kind of cool.
Nice.
You know?
Yeah. Excellent.
And the story has a lot of like interesting little twists and turns as you go through. You know, so that's cool. No,
I do
it's
really
a solid
like it.
game. It's just not a AAA, you know.
I just want people to be able to push through that first hour.
Yeah.
And they'll discover something really cool. But
But you have both sides to deal with. You have a slow burn intro that people might not push through, and a jump in fear factor that goes too high that people probably won't. So what is it? The 2 hours in the middle of the game, that's the sweet spot for everybody?
It is almost a game of two halves. It's I don't think they can win, because you die-hard horror people might not survive the first hour. And I think in my very first video of the game, I actually said at one point, this will be pretty good for people who aren't great with spooky stuff, because it's not that scary. It's just kind of atmosphere. Those people won't make it through the second half.
So you've got, all of your viewers now have gone out and bought the game because of what you said. And they're like, oh, well, this is going to be fine. It's going to be a nice little gentle intro to horror. And then they get 3/4 of the way through,
in the corner.
get scared shitless, and you're just going to get all these comments on your channel like, what are you doing to me, Ben? That wasn't funny.
Definitely a game of two halves, 100%.
It is. Okay.
And it's going to get worse. Cool. So, brilliant.
All right, well, there you have it, folks. That's Wraith the Oblivion Afterlife by Fast Travel Games. So pick that up if it sounds like something that appeals to you. So there you have it, folks. That's the end of episode 10 of the Trip VR podcast. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it. And I just want to say a big thank you to Matteo for joining us. Thank you very much for being here. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Very nice. Absolute pleasure.
Excellent. And don't forget to
like and subscribe and ring the bell and comment and share and anything else that gets us more views.
Hey.
I think there's anything else.
No, is that it?
Kind of ritual sacrifice.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.